HCLTech is in the business of technology and solving customers' problems. We are a global SI, and we've grown the business quite well, and we're based out of 60 countries today, Steve, and we work from building products for customers to running internal infrastructure to transforming businesses and their business processes. Overall, we've had a good run as an organization. We've been around for quite some time. HCLTech has been in the business for over 46 years now. And, we have the chance of working with some of the best companies in the world, I can say. So we work with several semiconductor companies, and in any tech, if you think about where the innovation first starts, it's there you see it. So when I saw semiconductor chips being built for doing AI workloads, and this is like 5-7 years back. I mean, AI has been around for more than that, as you said. But when you start seeing investments getting into building semiconductor chips that are of 5 nanometer, whatever, and they have certain amount of capability to solve problems, that's when you think, this is going to have a real big business impact. Beyond point solution, investments going into building such high scale processing capability means for quite some time there's going to be a lot bigger change. So that's when we first saw how AI could make it into real world. When we saw it getting into data centers that are now generative AI scale capabilities, that's when we saw that, look, this is now really going to make a real business impact. Give you an example of where that is today in production. For a customer where there was little presence in a business segment, with the kind of AI capability they built into their chips and data centers, they are able to do their training about 40% to 35% faster. And this is like global scale video content distribution and all of that stuff. And we built some transcoders for these companies to be able to distribute this video across. And they suddenly became a credible competitor in a business segment they were not in. And this is not a small business segment. This is a multi-billion-dollar business segment. So it's truly impacting what businesses can see.
So this was somebody that wasn't a CDN that really moved into
not a CDN, but a business segment like video content distribution globally, reaching billions of users. So we talked a lot about in the morning about the engineering process or the software development lifecycle becoming more efficient. There are coding assistants. You can count them. Probably you need 2 hands to count today. There were a few earlier. But, an engineering lifecycle is just not about coding. It's a lot broader than coding. Today you're able to, from English, generate requirements that are of credible quality. You're then able to test it right through traceability. And all of this was very manual intensive. Today you can see AI playing a role where you can see all of this stuff come through. And we built tools to make sure this can happen, but I think everybody is innovating around this as to how you can get it to much faster software development life cycle, much more high quality and much more predictable manner. That's one. That is, I think it's more of an efficiency lever. But when I think about beyond going through engineering efficiencies in building products or services, you think about actually AI getting into products. I'll take an example which all of us relate to. And I'm assuming there's no professional photographer in this audience here.
These gentlemen all the way in back.
Yes, of
They
course.
are professional photographers.
Okay, I'll talk to them in a bit. So, most of us are consumers, right? And this customer came to us and said, look, I need to build a new customer segment. Right? We have these professional photographers and we have consumers like us. We want to be able to use the professional photographer capability and the features that are there by consumers. Tell me how. So this customer went about infusing AI into their end cameras and started building by learning from all of the professional pictures that have been taken and the settings that are pretty complex. I have a lot of respect for professional photographers because they have to do a lot of stuff to get it right. And now making that available to you and me, who can make it easy to use these sophisticated cameras. And all of a sudden, you have this new segment called the prosumer segment, which did not exist. In my mind, that is really the impact of what AI can do, is to engineer products with infused AI to build new needs or build and serve new needs. During the pandemic, we have these testing centers which people go and take tests and they're proctored, right? During the pandemic, you couldn't go to a center like that.
Yep.
It's a real human need, and you had kids who had to go to college, need to take these exams. So here we built a solution, and the solution is about video analytics and video monitoring in a way. And it can actually now take, I think, 8,000, 10,000 feeds at the same time from their centers, and can actually tell you, proctoring it remotely, right? And only flag the ones maybe less than a 2%, that these are probably issues that you have to look into, and then there's a human who's intervening and looking at it, rather than in a proctoring center where it's all proctored and you need a human video, everything, right? You could do this from your home.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it is a game-changing solution for the lives of the people who are impacted. If they hadn't the ability to take this test, they probably would have skipped a year or
Yep.
something else would have happened. But this customer put this solution in place. So AI really enabled all of this to happen. And it is it's a product, it's a service, because there's somebody then looking at all these flagged, streams and doing something about that. So I think it's a new service that was really put together, which changed the business. I'll give you an example, Steve, of I don't know if it's called democratizing health, but at least making it accessible and making that expertise that you just talked about much more easily and much more distributed. Parkinson's and diseases similar, right? They really don't have great cure, and you have to manage it through. And there's one customer of ours for whom we built a modulating implant, which you would go through and put it in your body through a surgeon. But the dosage of the shock that you need to get so that your pain is not actually felt in your brain, right? That has to be modulated. And now those are implanted in humans and people who need it, and they are globally there, or they are in 20 countries today,
Yep.
these devices. And that system allows you to modulate the clinician or the physician can modulate, and you can get that dose at your home. Think about it. First of all, these patients are not very mobile. It takes them an hour or two to get to any reasonable place, right? And then they have to go through this test and modulate, and then they have to go back. With this system in place, they can actually do this remotely. And you can get these dosages done. And today we have 40,000 patients in 20 different countries using these devices through the system that we built. And the next stage for this is to learn, right? To learn how is the efficiency of the system, and then give suggestions to the physicians to say, okay, this is the way you have to modulate, and this is the most efficient way. A similar thing with cancer treatments. I'm surprised by the variety of cancer treatments that are there. To be able to say this is the specific one that you need from learning from different other experiences, I think those systems, in my mind, can give a lot more quality of care to people who are distributed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're seeing more and more capabilities in the healthcare space.
Yes.
On that, diabetes is another one where we're using big data and Gen AI with the patches that people can wear on to get better insights and help them live, better, more productive lives. I mean, it's on your example with Parkinson's. I mean, it's a huge opportunity to really advance, how we think. Not only the quality of life of those 40,000, but how do you start modulating the medicines across and learning from that, which is what big data and Gen AI capabilities are
Certainly.
enabling was.
The fundamental process, if you look at for new drug discovery, it's a multi-stage process. It goes through several clinical trials, and the ability to succeed is low. So if you are able to put something in the process to be able to fail fast and fail early, then you can take through more molecules to that entire drug discovery process. And the chance that at the end of it, you get more successful drugs is higher. And of course, a lot of it is around data and AI and how do you use the learning from previous drug trials? What are the failures? And things around that can really help succeed. So I've heard of a firm which had put in processes and systems in place, including the data and AI around that, so that they can get, on an average, they used to get 5 new molecules to production or to market. Today they can do 13. That for an R&D organization, for a pharmaceutical organization, is a big boost.
Yeah.
So that's a real example, and those drugs, of course, can get into many different countries and many social and profitable outcomes as well for the firm that's building. I think that's a real big use case, or a real business value, I would say. The first thing is, I think we recognize that this is important. We heard a lot about change management, and this is a fundamental aspect to change management, and humans are involved in this whole process, and people need to get through this. So 3 things we are doing. One is, first, we're just getting people more familiar with using it. So we're calling just consumption of AI, beyond just ChatGPT and things like that. How do you just consume? You're not building products. You're using tools for software engineering. You're using tools for customer support. You're using conversational AI. You're using, agents are using software to become just usage. We have built capabilities, training, and getting people to learn and use. And that's the first step, and just getting people to use. Then we have a large business which is building products and building solutions for customers. Those we are calling developers of AI, right? So we have a consumer of AI and a developer of AI broadly. The faster you get the consumer of AI, the developer of AI will start, or developers of AI. And we are building through, train the trainer programs and all of the material that's available. So that's a large portion of 85% of our workforce are like that. Then we have all of our enabling teams. We are building systems that they can use. Our HR team is using systems for, let's say, your whole interviewing process. On an average year, we hire maybe 40, 50,000 people, right? How can you use HR systems to make sure your process of hiring is much more predictable? We can generate, pretty much a profile from available data, right? What kind of a person that person is from an technical ability perspective. So even before you have the first interaction with a person, you have some sense of what it is, and help generate context-specific questions and all of that. So those systems are getting all of our, people who are hiring and who are front-ending new people joining the organization familiar with AI systems. So internal people who are using these systems is the best way, I would think. Now, if I step out and see a new workforce, there's only so much, there's demand for this is going to be significant, and there's only so many people available in the market, just like it happened with digital, right? Just keeping hiring is not going to help anybody.
Yeah.
So we are now going into, high schools, introducing curriculum which helps people get ready for the future. There are schools that are open to using, having courses on data science, data engineering as part of high school curriculum. We hire a significant amount of high school children who are brilliant but don't have the ability to get to a college. And those children are being taught for a year some of these new tech. And I'm surprised by the kind of work these guys are able to do after 1 year of training. We have labs across the world, and one of the labs we had a visit, and they were showing a demo of a simple, through a video stream, recognizing numbers on jerseys of soccer players. I said, okay, you have now shown me enough of this. I want you to pull up the final match of the World Cup and play it to me and show me. And this was, I think, Barcelona was it Barcelona or some T-shirt there, and they had horizontal stripes, and this soccer player had number 11, and that algorithm failed or could not detect that properly. The next day I go, and then I said, okay, how have you progressed? And there's a young kid who has learned this for a year, had fixed it, and said, look, this is the fix I applied. Right? So it's amazing that talent can be developed, nurtured, and they can fix stuff like this in a video stream to figure out a problem when some algorithm did not do proper edge detection or whatever, was able to then go and fix it and turn it around within less than a day.
So at that high school, pre-university level, what are those skills that you look for? What are those skills that we should look for? Is it still STEM, or are there other skills that are becoming more important in this AI world?
I think it's three things. We are looking for problem-solving ability to work in teams, and communicate.
Yeah.
I think these are abilities if people have, and I mean, when I say problem-solving skills, it's not straightforward. You need some math, of course, or stuff like that. But we're able to find those children and be able to nurture that talent. And we have, I'm not saying we have all of them at that capability, but a few of them at that capability. This program, we have 8,000 kids today in the company like that, 8,800. And I think at least 10% of them will qualify to do the work I'm asking them to do. We were talking to some of the folks at Harvard, and they said they want to see how they can use all of their sources that they have and make this available to a much larger base.
Yeah.
And is there a system that you can build or can conceptualize which basically suggests what you should be doing to be able to learn and use all of their content to be able to craft. I heard a lot about personalization, right? Personalized education, not just for, their alumni, which is very natural, but for entrepreneurs. They're thinking, how do I build something customized, given an entrepreneur situation, a course, 13-week program or whatever, right? Suddenly you're making that quality of education available to a lot more people. It is going to be exponential. The number of products that are going to have AI embedded in them is going to be exponential. It's not a linear thing that it's going to drive direction of travel. And I also think that there will be a lot more services. I didn't talk about government and, where I expect a lot more citizen capabilities of AI to come in. Of course, government will be very cautious about putting them into use. But I think you will see when your speed of travel can be by, the tech guys are the first guys who are going to use them all the time, right? And then it goes to, consumer electronics, and we deal with automotive is already there. We got telcos, and then manufacturing and a bunch of other stuff. But last on the list is public services,
public
right?
Service.
Those are the last. But I think you will see them there.
And I think what you'll see is more efficiency and better ideas coming out of government.
Absolutely. We did this amazing project for a government in Australia. The reason I say that is because there's some tech, but there's a lot more benefit. It's an ecology study project. So it's constantly monitoring the ecology with video cameras, right, that are there. But people used to go inspect all the time. From there, and then also, two things. They used to inspect, so with the system that was put in place, they don't need to go inspect all the time, by exception. The system can find that there's some exception, some dead animal stuck in some place, then it alerts and somebody goes, takes care of it. But more important is, they know the richness of the ecology by baby eel, it's called an elver or something. And between an elver and an earthworm, you have to detect. That's as simple as that, and it's a fundamental pattern recognition, a great AI problem. We solved that problem to distinguish by the motion of how a worm moves versus how an earthworm moves versus how an elver moves. And you can say the concentration in a particular amount of water, whatever. From there, you're able to actually say, this ecology is degrading or not.
So it's a classic machine learning problem
Yes.
that you're able to take the massive data to make something.
But then the impact of it is that now you can monitor a lot more parts of the ecology, whether it's improving or not. So I think those kind of systems, I think that's a front runner of what I've seen in that space. And it's repeatable. It's there in multiple other governments are adopting it. I think those systems I expect in 2 years will be mainstream in many places.
I think that's that evolution leapfrogging that we talk about. The fact that by combining these capabilities, technology is evolving, and I absolutely agree with you. It's not going to be linear.
I think B2C is going to spread the knowledge of AI much faster than what B2B can ever do.
We're slow on B2B, aren't we?